Well, after an agonizing 200-plus day wait, the NFL is back. I'm Chris Hassel. This is CBS Sports HQ on Kickoff Thursday. The Eagles will unveil their Super Bowl banner in front of the Cowboys tonight. So on this day, we say to the greatest league of all, hello again, friend.
Fate is a funny thing. It's inevitable, unchangeable, immovable. Fate lies at the end of a tunnel, and we're all just along for the ride. Unless it's not set in stone. Maybe when our dreams feel just out of reach. Destiny is a blank page in an open book.
Everything happens for a reason. You can't really control it. I'm a guy that just wants to run through somebody's face.
A story being constantly rewritten, where anything is possible.
I was 199. What do you do when you get there?
Say whatever you want, but look at these diamonds on these fingers.
Fate can turn on a dime.
The doorstep of NFL history.
It can slip right through your fingers.
The ball was dropped, hit him in the head.
It bounces unpredictably between heartache and triumph. But the thing about fate is,
Here we go, Jim.
It's always up for grabs.
Every day's gotta be our first day. Big boy sport.
Bring it, come on. Second zone for the first snap. To the left. Don't forget the world. Do it for our brother. We beat today.
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Down after down, game after game, Sunday after Sunday. Fate plays out before our very eyes, and we get to watch.
And it all kicks off tonight with the Super Bowl champion Eagles hosting a Dallas Cowboys team that's been the #1 team in the headlines over the last few weeks, trading away Micah Parsons. But it is the return of Dak Prescott, who missed the final 9 games of last season with a torn hamstring. He's had success against the Eagles in his career. More on that in a minute. Saquon Barkley rushed for over 2,500 yards last season when you include the playoffs. Cowboys also went out and got George Pickens. So maybe they, even though they might take a step back on defense, maybe they're even better on offense. Now, more on Dak Prescott's success. 4-1 in his career. The Eagles destroyed the Cowboys in both matchups last season, but Dak wasn't there. Dak missed both of those games. He's 4-1 in his last 5, and look at the touchdowns to interceptions. 16 passing touchdowns, just 1 pick. But Jalen Hurts has won the last 14 games he's started and finished, and he's really stacking a great resume going back to college. 7 years as a full-time starter, 7 playoff appearances, 4 championship game appearances, including 2 Super Bowls, and an 89-20 overall record. The Eagles stopped the Chiefs from becoming the first team to three-peat last season. Now they look to become the first NFC team to repeat since the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys of the early 1990s. But many are wondering what's going to happen tonight, because if you think back to 2018, when the Eagles unveiled a banner in front of the Atlanta Falcons in Week 1, by halftime, fans were booing. So the question is, what will they do tonight? Here's Nick Sirianni.
The last banner night in 2018, it's famous that the fans booed the Eagles at halftime because they weren't happy with the way things were going, albeit it was banner night. How do you feel about the fact that even though it is banner night for you guys, the fans will still have the standard of performing and winning at a high level?
Yeah, I didn't know it was banner night. We won't be out for that.
All right, so they're going to stay in the locker room when the banner is unveiled. He believes the Eagles will still have success this season, and so do these guys. Ryan Wilson, Mike Renner, Emory Hunt, all believe the Eagles will return to the Super Bowl. Ryan, I'll start with you. Why are you so confident in a team to repeat as an NFC champion when we haven't even seen a division repeat winner in the NFC East in over 20 years?
Yeah, I'm just not going to overthink it, guys. I think when you talk about the way that Jalen Hurts has played, Nick Sirianni is now an asset. Remember the conversations we had not too long ago about whether he was going to keep his job? It sounds funny. In hindsight, Howie Roseman is one of the best GMs, if not the best GM in the NFL in terms of putting together this roster. And while in years past, when they lost both their coordinators, Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, and that team took a step back, although they still made the playoffs, I'm less concerned this time around. Kevin Patullo feels like he's going to pick up where we saw Kellen Moore leave off. Vic Fangio is still there, and that defense should be as good, if not better, than last year, even though there are some issues with depth along the defensive line, and even you could argue in the secondary. But I think if they can do what they do offensively, lean on that running game, let Jalen Hurts do the things that he does successfully, and perhaps find out who that wide receiver 3 is going to be, because that could also be a potential question. It's hard not to love what this team put on tape last year, and there's really no reason for me to doubt them heading into this year because many of the same faces are returning.
And they are once again the favorites in the NFC, despite the fact, Mike, that they lost Milton Williams on defense, Josh Sweat on that defensive line, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Brandon Graham. Why don't you think that's going to matter?
Because they just reload. I mean, they aren't one guy either. This is a team that can lose one of their stars. And there's a lot of stars, and it really never seems to affect them because they're so deep at so many positions. You know, they lost all those defensive linemen, but Moro Ojomo looks prime for a breakout season here coming into year 3. They added Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, 2 guys that can get after the passer at a high level. And Jalex Hunt, you saw the 3rd rounder last year, really excel down the stretch. And then you have 2 of your stars, Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter there on the defensive line. They're only getting better. They're only going into year 3, so they could be taking leaps forward as well. So, yeah, you know, those losses, I'm not going to say those aren't good players that they lost, but there's the reason why this Eagles team, you know, was so dominant down the stretch is because they're really only getting better at a lot of different positions.
Best defense and best offense. Emery, as a former running back yourself, do you expect that run game to be as dominant as it was last season? Saquon went over 200 yards in the regular season. The team went over 3,500 yards when you include the playoffs. Nobody's ever run for that many yards in a full season.
I truly believe so, because when you look at what's behind Saquon Barkley, they've elevated Will Shipley, who's going to get some carries, look fantastic in the preseason. And so they'll be able to run the football. That's why they are who they are. Their foundation is the ground game, and everything else is built around that. Even on defense, it's point of attack play, then everything else is built around that. The Eagles do a great job of preparing their roster like a college football team. They always have a plan in place for a year ahead. So when you draft guys, it's like, wow, that was a good pick, and then he doesn't play as a rookie. Well, next year when they let those stars leave and find money elsewhere, the guy they drafted a year ago steps up and ready to go. So this team can lose their stars. If you take away all their starters and just played this game with their backups and went into the season with their backups, this is a 7-win team. So that's how deep they are. And also in the backfield, you lose Gainwell, but guess who's ready to go? Will Shipley is ready to go to be that guy that's in that rotation with Saquon Barkley.
So you all have the Eagles winning the NFC. 2 of you have them playing the Eagles. Emery, you're one of them. Mike, you're the other. We saw that game last season. The Eagles went into Baltimore and won in early December. Mike, how do you see the potential rematch in the Super Bowl going this year?
I like the Ravens this year. They're kind of like the Eagles of the AFC in that this roster, top to bottom, they just don't have a lot of holes. You know, maybe the guard position. I think that's the same thing you say for the Eagles. Maybe the guard position is where you're the weakest. But if that's your weak link on an entire roster, you probably have a pretty darn good roster. And I think the separator here to me is just the quarterback position. It's the fact that Lamar Jackson can take it to another level as a passer that Jalen Hurts, you know, we've seen sometimes the playoffs, we've seen sometimes the Super Bowl, but Lamar Jackson still, there's a reason why he's a 2-time MVP. So these rosters, top to bottom, are elite, but I think the Ravens just have a couple more game changers at the positions I want to see game changers at, and that's why I have Baltimore win it all.
I will echo that and look at where they got stronger in the offseason. In the secondary, you added Jair Alexander, you drafted Malachi Starks out of Georgia, and you go ahead and get undrafted rookie free agent Keon Martin out of the University of Louisiana. So had to get that in there. And when you look at Kyle Hamilton, who I think is going to be the defensive player of the year, they're the strongest group, more so than Philadelphia. And if Lamar Jackson gets past the AFC Championship game or the divisional round and gets to the Super Bowl, man, he is going to play lights out because that's all he's been wanting to do since they drafted him. He told us on stage they're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. So if he's in that game, I expect him to play the best we've ever seen him play, which is scary because to Mike's point, that's a 2-time MVP we're talking about.
You guys are 3 of the 16 analysts that we asked to fill out the bracket and give us an NFC champion, AFC champion, Super Bowl champion, among other things. It's funny, 8 of the 16 have the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but only one person has the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That's Kyle Long. Now, if you look toward the bottom there, Ryan Wilson has the Houston Texans not only winning the AFC, but beating the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Ryan, why are you so high on this Texans team?
Perhaps it's telling, Hassel, that my name was at the bottom of that list, and that's how producer Noah thought of my take here with the Houston Texans. Look, man, let's get crazy. Not everybody can just sit there and pick the Ravens because that's the layup choice to make, or even the Buffalo Bills or Kansas City Chiefs. I get that. I'm trying to think a little bit outside the box, trying to do zig when everyone else is zagging, and reading between the lines, throw a couple more cliches. Here's the thing. We sort of came down on C.J. Stroud a year ago because that team didn't play nearly as well offensively. A lot of that had to do with the offensive line struggling through injuries. They moved on from their offensive coordinator. Oh, by the way, that team still won 10 games and won a playoff game in both years that C.J. Stroud has been in the league. And I think they're going to build on that. And you might say the offensive line still has some concerns, and I would say yes, they do. If they can overcome those concerns, get something out of their second-round pick, Arante Ursery, who's going to likely be the starting right tackle, I think C.J. Stroud is poised to improve on what he did in 2023. D'Amico Ryans and that coaching staff is one of the best coaching staffs in the league. This defense is going to be absolutely lights out. And even if things aren't clicking offensively early on, I think the defense can carry you a long way. And another crazy idea I had there, Chris, is I think Will Anderson Jr. has a chance to be Defensive Player of the Year. And if he plays like that and that offense gets to where I think it can be, they can certainly make a deep run. Is it crazy to say they're a Super Bowl team? Perhaps. But again, we're in early September. Anything can happen.
Guys, do you think it's crazy? Emery, is it crazy that the Texans could win the AFC and win the Super Bowl?
Not at all. To be honest, when you have a great defense, potentially like Houston, and a quarterback that's not scared, that gives you a chance. If you think about all the teams that are in the postseason, that's kind of what they have outside of Cincinnati. They don't have a defense, but everyone has that quarterback that has that killer instinct. Stroud has that, and boy, they have a fantastic defense ready to go.
Yeah, I do think that this is at least, at worst, the top 3 defense in the NFL. And when that's your floor, that can be the game changer, especially given where the strength's at. It's edge rusher and it's secondary. Those guys, those positions travel week in and week out. And then you have franchise quarterback on the other side. So, we've seen teams in the past win with that sort of blueprint, elite defense, elite quarterback. Tom Brady won some Super Bowls like that. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl like that with Denver. It's very possible.
All right, so Ryan, not crazy, not the craziest take we've had. It might be a hot take, but not something that our analysts can't see happening. We've got more hot takes coming up, including one of our analysts thinking the world of the 49ers, maybe like a world championship. Another saying, I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. We're also going to have survivor picks on the other side of this break as we're joined by John Breach, and then our sports line gang will join us as well, the underachievers on the other side. Let's take a look at the easiest schedules in the NFL. Easiest in quotations. It's relative because it's all based on last season's winning percentages. It's interesting to find the Bills down there at the bottom. They're tied for the 8th easiest schedule. That's odd because they're a Super Bowl favorite and they were great last year. At the top, though, Kyle Shanahan's 49ers, because they finished last place in the NFC West last season at 6-11. It was a season defined by injuries. Christian McCaffrey limited to just 4 games with Achilles and PCL injuries, but he's healthy again. Brock Purdy has his new contract, and if the Niners stay healthy, many think they could go far. In fact, they're the favorites in the NFC West. Not only is the schedule the easiest this season, it's actually the easiest any team has had in the last 10 years. Though the 3 teams over the last 25 years with a lower opponent winning percentage all missed the playoffs, that's not necessarily telling because usually the team with the easiest schedule is one of the worst teams from the year before. This is the schedule, and when you look at it, they open up in Seattle, but what really makes this easy is that they get to play the AFC South and the NFC South, along with the Giants and the Browns. And look at the last 7 games, all against non-playoff teams from last season. So let's get John Breach in here. John, I'll ask you about the 49ers as a whole in just a second, but we just saw Brock Purdy. He's got his new contract. Pete Prisco has said he thinks that the pressure is now off of Purdy because, as Mr. Irrelevant, he's earned that huge contract, and you believe he's going to have his best season yet. How good?
Chris, I think it's going to be so good that it's going to end with Brock Purdy winning the NFL MVP award. Look, I know Joe Burrow's the odds-on favorite. He's up there. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, you got a couple former winners. There's always Patrick Mahomes to consider. But when you look at what Brock Purdy and the 49ers can do this season, you just mentioned that easier strength of schedule. Not only that, but the 49ers are healthy. Christian McCaffrey catches passes out of the backfield. That's a great weapon for Brock Purdy to have back. George Kittle, even though the 49ers were beat up last year, still had a very strong season going over 1,000 yards. The offensive line is healthy. The only real question mark right now is at receiver, but Juwan Jennings is back. He just got a raise, so he is going to be pretty motivated going into the season. Ricky Pearsall, this is a season where that former first-round pick could have go off, and obviously Brandon Ayuk won't be back until October. So if Brock Purdy goes out and plays like he did in, say, 2023 when everyone was healthy, that was the year where he threw for nearly 4,300 yards. He threw 31 touchdown passes, and he was in the MVP race. He is not just going to be in the race this year. He is going to win the award, Chris.
Okay, so you've got Brock Purdy putting up big numbers against a very easy schedule when you look at last year's opponents. That all changes, obviously, when you make it into the playoffs. It's not going to be that easy to get through the NFC with the Eagles and the Lions and the Packers. Why do you believe not only are they going to get through the NFC, but they're going to win their first Super Bowl in over 30 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get to the playoffs, it's much more difficult. But this is a battle-tested coaching staff. We're looking at Kyle Shanahan. He brought back his old buddy Robert Saleh, who's now the defensive coordinator. When you look at Shanahan specifically, he has reached the NFC Championship game in 4 of the past 6 seasons, and that includes 2 Super Bowl appearances. So this is a very experienced coaching staff. And not to mention, the 49ers do have a prolific offense that I think can be successful against any of these other teams that we've been talking about. I know the Eagles are getting a lot of Super Bowl hype. And Saleh, I do think, can turn this defense around. The 49ers gave up the 4th most points in the NFL last year. He is the exact guy they need to get in there and fix that problem. So if the defense takes a small step forward, we already know that Shanahan's offense is going to be prolific. And let's not forget, Hassel, the Super Bowl is being played at Levi's Stadium. So you have that little motivational chip on your shoulder, knowing that if you get to the big game, you get to play it in your backyard. And if you win that, you get to have a parade on the Golden Gate Bridge. Does life get any better? It doesn't. Super Bowl 60 champs, 49ers, Chris.
We've seen it happen before. The Bucs won on their home field just a few years ago. John Breach has the 49ers doing just that this upcoming season. All right, let's look at the easiest and hardest, the highest and lowest over-under win totals of the season. And the 49ers are on that left-hand column at 10.5. Only the Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, and Eagles are above them. But as we welcome in our underachievers, the Sportsline crew, want to get some hot takes from all of you, beginning with Kenzo. Kenzie, you think that Breach is crazy about the 49ers. Why is that?
I mean, listen, this is my hot take of the day. Let's just warm up here. Also, happy NFL, boys.
Yeah, warm me up. Here we go. Yeah, the NFL is back.
We're back.
We're so back. Let's start this off with I don't think any running back in history ever has been worth 5 to 6 wins, like even a healthy CMC. And I understand the strength of schedule. I hear them there. But you don't have Debo anymore. The hottest part of this take is I just don't think CMC can be remotely what he used to be. I mean, the team literally went from 4.8 yards per carry to when he left 4.7. Like, it wasn't this drastic drop-off where, like, oh my God, we need him. The beautiful part of CMC and his talent and success in San Francisco was having Debo to also be there and just be like, you know, it's not just definitely going to go to CMC. That's what they're going to see this season. Obviously, this team gets riddled with injuries as well, but I just don't think the strength of schedule situation is enough to say that this team, who was last in the division, is just suddenly going to take the division, let alone win the Super Bowl here. Well, that's my problem.
But I notice you say not as good as everyone thinks. That's very vague. Not as good. That's very, very vague.
I think they're going to be an objectively bad football team.
Oh, so now you're getting objective.
Yes.
You know what I love? I love whenever people talk about the Niners, just calling Brock Purdy a system quarterback.
It's so triggering.
I mean, they were like, this guy deserves, they go, you know what? After his performance last year, he deserves $50 million. That performance was being last in your division. Okay.
Okay, hold on. But they had all the injuries. That's such a I don't enjoy you saying that. I could see them not being as good as everyone thinks, but I think that means that they are an injury-ridden team for the second year in a row. So that would be my thought. But
I just think a healthy, quote-unquote, which will never have a fully healthy CMC, I think, at this point in his career, will not be 5 to 6 wins impactful the way that I feel like some people are assuming it is going to be.
Well, I drafted him, so I hope he is.
Mikey?
Since your quarterback.
What's your hot take?
My hot take of the NFL season, it's something we've talked about a couple times on here. I might as well just become a fan of the team at this point.
I think you are.
I think the Chargers have a chance to win the AFC West. And I'm not going to quote any players. I'm not going to say anything other than it's going to come down to coaching. In year 2 with Harbaugh and the Niners, he brought him to the bowl. We're now entering year 2 of Harbaugh on the Chargers. I think he's got a comparable defense to the team he had in San Francisco, and I think he's got a better quarterback in LA than he had on the Niners that he took to the bowl. So I'm just trusting in Harbaugh in a really, really, really hard division, plus 340. I think that's a lot of value to get a Chargers team that I think can make some noise. Let's run the damn ball, and also keep in mind, Justin Herbert is dating Madison Beer, and I just want to put that out there.
Keep that in mind. I'm in on this team.
I'm in on the team, but I'm concerned with Rashawn Slater being done for the year. That is my one concern, left tackle, protecting Justin Herbert, or right tackle, I guess. Not even a tackle. Guard, maybe. Someone on the offensive line. Rashawn Slater's not there anymore, okay? Because you drafted Joe Alt. I like the Chargers, but I think there's a better chance the Broncos win the division than there is the Chargers.
I think it's Chargers being better, Greg Roman second-year offense, Justin Herbert rocking, coupled with Chiefs down year, question mark. I mean, they finished second in the AFC, then they finished 4th in the AFC, then they finished 5th. Sue me to believe maybe they continue to just regress down. Travis Kelce getting older, all of those things. I think it's all directly correlated with his production and lack thereof, and I don't think it's necessarily getting better this year. So you have the Chargers coming up, Chiefs coming down. Who cares about the Broncos in this moment? I like the plus 340.
Yeah, and I think the way I was thinking about it too is former Jets quarterback Geno Smith on the Raiders. Immediately they're going to be horrible. Then I think what I love, the sophomore slump for Bo Nix, potentially takes a step back. Then you have the Chiefs Chargers, and I go, Madison Beer.
So real.
I can't dispute that one. I mean, if you started with that one, I'd say yes, they'll win in the division.
All right, Adam, let's hear what you got for us.
My hot take for the 2025 NFL season.
Yeah, where you at?
The Miami Dolphins
Here we go.
win 10 games. Okay? I know I'm wearing Eagles gear right now, but I'm a Dolphins fan. So just bear with me.
You shouldn't have said that.
Well, no, I'm going to say it. I'm going to put context around it, okay? Last year they win 8 games, 2 is out. They start 2-6. 2 years ago, the Miami Dolphins win 11 games. They were talked about as the best offense in football. It's the same team right now with a better offensive line. If Tua is healthy, this team should not lose more than 7 games at all. They just shouldn't. It's a 10-win team. And look, I get it. Everyone is going to point to the secondary. Everyone is going to say you lose Jalen Ramsey. But the fact of the matter is, Jalen Ramsey was not that good last year. The defense was way better than people are giving credit for. So when the media is all running with this idea that they're going to be 7-win team, 6-win team, 8-win team, Tyreek and Tua are not friends, I think it is just blown out of proportion. We have swung way too far in the direction that the Dolphins are not a good team. If they can stay healthy, like any other team in the NFL, the Dolphins should not be any more than a 9-win team.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just think that if with health, and that team especially, is just such a larger if than a lot of teams.
It's not even like I want to bet against that. Like, I'm not like anti that take. It's just so a team I don't even want to touch with my own money. You are legitimately one sack away from Tua being done with his career.
That's fair, but that's any player, that's any team, all right? Anyone can get hurt on any given. Anyone can get hurt. Anyone can get hurt. We're going into the season. New lives, new energy.
Chris, back to you. I'm over it.
Good stuff. I love it. Week 1 already arguing, and Eagles fans everywhere, of course. We've got Survivor picks for Week 1, and hey, they even gave me one, and I'm with a bunch of our other analysts. I think the easiest play is the Broncos at home against Cam Ward and the Titans. The Titans are a bad team. The Broncos are a really good team. Broncos have the best defense in the NFL. Titans are starting a rookie quarterback. But another popular pick, the Arizona Cardinals this weekend. And with Survivor, if you can get away with picking the Cardinals in Week 1, that should be your play. But they're on the road. They are in New Orleans against the Saints as 6.5-point favorites. All right, our early slate on Sunday includes that Cardinals-Saints game, but it is highlighted by Aaron Rodgers and his debut with the Pittsburgh Steelers against his former team, the New York Jets, from the Meadowlands at 1 o'clock Eastern. Back here as we kick off Week 1 in the NFL. Can't wait to get our CBS coverage kick-started at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with our brand new show, the NFL Today Plus. They will be on site along with the NFL Today at Lambeau Field for the Packers and the Lions. Amanda Guerra will be hosting our coverage here on HQ and Paramount Plus. Big matchup. Packers were horrible in the division last season. They went 1-5 against the NFC North, including 0-2 against the Lions. Dan Campbell and the Lions have owned the Packers of late. They've won 6 of the last 7 times they've played. And in 3 of those games, they've won outright as an underdog. And in this matchup, Green Bay is a slight 1.5-point favorite. Let's get Pete Prisco and Danny Cannell in here. We're going to get your picks for NFC champion, Super Bowl champion, MVP. Danny, lead us off in the NFC with the Lions. Why aren't you wavering here? Because I know you liked the Lions a few weeks ago. Why aren't you wavering considering what the Packers just did with Micah Parsons?
Oh, it definitely made me a little bit more nervous, but I still think with an edge rusher, you know what they don't love? When you come running downhill at them, and that's what I think Dan Campbell is going to test. I don't think you're going to see Jared Goff put in a lot of positions, hopefully, if you're a Detroit Lions backer, for him just to be sitting back there all day, and that's been one thing that Micah Parsons has to step up and do a better job of, is against that rush defense. So it definitely made me a little bit more timid on it, but I feel like this team is knocking on the door, and this is the year that they absolutely stomp it down. Dan Campbell's got a clear identity. Ben Johnson's gone, but I still think they're going to have the same identity. I think Jared Goff is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He's got most of his weapons back in the backfield, at tight end, at receiver, a little bit of a reworked offensive line, but I trust they'll get it done because it's a little bit easier to run block than pass block for younger players. I like the Lions to get it done.
Pete, a little bit later, you were going to do your usual Pete versus the book on Thursday, but in this segment, it's Pete versus Danny. You're on the opposite side of this, and you were on the Packers before that Micah Parsons trade.
Yeah, and the reason I'm on the Packers is because, not just because of Micah Parsons, now that adds to it, obviously, he's a great player, but I love teams where they have a lot of experienced players who are going from year 1 to year 2 and year 2 to year 3, and that's what you have with Green Bay. And I like that. And they also have a healthy quarterback. Remember, last year he was hurt all year, didn't practice a lot, got into some bad mechanical flaws, wasn't the same guy. Well, he's back, and I think they're going to put up big numbers offensively. And, you know, Danny mentioned the run defense. That is a concern, and they got to be better against the run. But Edgerrin Cooper is going to be a star linebacker on that defense. I said earlier this year he's going to be in the Defensive Player of the Year talk. You know, Micah Parsons needs to look at him a little bit and see how he plays the run. But I think the Packers are built to win now, and I think adding Micah Parsons gives them the sack, fumble, game over guy for the fourth quarter.
But neither of you have an NFC team winning the Super Bowl. In fact, of our 16 analysts that we polled today, only 2 of them picked an NFC team. You guys aren't one of those 2. Who do you have winning the Super Bowl, Pete?
I have the Buffalo Bills, and I think the Bills, again, the schedule is so favorable to them, and that matters in this league. I mean, their toughest games are at home, starting Sunday night against the Ravens, and then you look at their road trips. They don't go past Houston in terms of going out west. That's enormous. So I think they'll win 13 games. They'll only need to win 2 to get to the Super Bowl, being at home. In the championship game, they'll be closing that stadium. That place will be jumping. I think they get to the Super Bowl, and then I think they win the Super Bowl.
Bills Ravens on Sunday night, and Danny, you have one of those teams as well, but it's not the Bills.
Yeah, I'm a big backer of Lamar Jackson. I know he's taking criticism for the lack of postseason success, but eventually I think it's going to come, and I think this could be the year. You mentioned players going from year 1 to year 2, and I know he's been in the league a long time, but the addition of Derrick Henry last year really opened up that offense, and that's where you saw Lamar Jackson have that MVP caliber type season. I know he came up short, but I think this team is knocking on the door, similar to the Detroit Lions, but even closer. And then this, I think they're physically better on the defensive side of the ball. I like the draft of Malachi Starks to shore up that secondary, but I think this is the year that Lamar Jackson gets it done. Much like Peyton Manning took criticism, other quarterbacks have taken criticism younger in their career. I think this is the year they get it done.
All right, and MVP picks. We had John Breach pick Brock Purdy at 22-1 to win the MVP this season. But Pete, you're going back to the well. You're going back to Patrick Mahomes. Now, we're going to look at his numbers from his MVP seasons and compare them to his last 2 seasons. And they're staggeringly lower the last couple of seasons. That touchdown number, that's combined from the last 2 years. He almost reached that in 1 season in 2018. How close to those numbers in 18 and 22 do you think he gets this season?
I don't think he's going to get to 50, but I think he can get close to 40. And when you look at this team over the last couple of years, what's been the biggest problem? Well, the biggest problem has been protection. They haven't protected him very well. He's been sped up. He hasn't been able to get the ball down the field. They lack speed at times as well once they got rid of Tyreek Hill. Well, now they have speed. Xavier Worthy ready in his second season to explode. Hollywood Brown, when he's on the field, can run. But the biggest difference will be the protection. Josh Simmons solidifies the offensive line at left tackle. They'll be able to throw the football down the field, and I think he's going to throw it a lot and have success. And Kelsey is dedicated and in shape this year. That's something he wasn't last year. So I look for Patrick Mahomes to roll up big numbers. He's not going to win it all this year, but he's going to win the MVP.
Just like you guys have disagreed on everything prior, you disagree on this one as well. Danny, you're going with Joe Burrow. Now, looking back at last season, he led the league in passing yards, but his team didn't make the playoffs. If he puts up those exact same numbers and they make the playoffs, is he the MVP?
Yes, I think easily. I mean, even last year with the team that missed the playoffs, he was in that conversation. A lot of people saying, wait a second, pay attention. He almost threw for 5,000 yards, had those 43 touchdown passes. And I feel like of all the quarterbacks we're talking about, he's been the most consistent deliverer statistically because he does have those incredible weapons in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and he's got those. So I know the defense has issues, but I almost feel like that benefits Joe Burrow because he's going to have to put up those numbers again. So even if they don't make the playoffs again, I still feel like you'd be in that conversation. But if the defense gets marginally better, then I think it's a slam dunk. I think Burrow takes it home.
All right, Danny Cannell and Pete Prisco here helping us get things kick-started on a kickoff Thursday in the NFL 2025. Pete's 49th consecutive season covering the NFL season opener for us at CBS. Pete likes Patrick Mahomes to win MVP. It would be his 3rd. But look at all the Burrows. It's not just Danny. Joe Burrow was the most picked MVP from our 16 staff members. 6 of them, a third, pick Joe Burrow to win. Patrick Mahomes had 4, and Lamar Jackson had 4. Sunday slate, Steelers-Jets, highlighting that early slate with Aaron Rodgers making his Steelers debut. And then Lions-Packers, again, we will have full pregame coverage beginning with the NFL Today Plus at 10 Eastern, and then the NFL Today at noon Eastern time. All right, we have Sportsline's Sia Nejad on set with us today, fresh off the Early Edge podcast. Sia, good to see you in studio here. Best week 1 bet for you is the same one I had. I don't get asked for plays very often, but one show a week, I get to make my best play of the week. And it's just hard for me not to go where you're going. Where is that?
Yeah, we're going to Denver. We're going to Denver at home against the Tennessee Titans. I mean, this is a case of I hate to reduce it to something so simple, Chris, but this is a very good Denver Broncos team. A team that I think can contend for the AFC West, oh, by the way. And I think they might be one of those teams we're talking about in the Super Bowl discussion. Granted, the other three AFC teams are probably better, but I love this Broncos team, especially up against the Tennessee Titans at home. This team is too good. The interior offensive line, the defensive line, way too good. And you look at what weapons Cam Ward has. He doesn't have Tajay Spears. He's got Tony Pollard, which is fine. He's got Calvin Ridley. But at the end of the day, this is not even a team that can really backdoor cover. I don't think Cam Ward has the pieces. I don't really respect his offensive line. I think the Titans' defense is decent, but not great. Denver is a very, very formidable team. I think they win by 10 or more. You see this line has gone from 7.5 to 8 to 8.5. Anything under 10 is good with me.
Okay, I mean, it's crazy. The best defense in football against a quarterback making his very first game in the NFL, and you're on a team where you don't have that much around you. All right, for tonight, Cowboys, Eagles, give us your top prop.
Everybody wants to talk about sort of the sexy players here. I'm going to go to Jake Ferguson, a guy that not a lot of people are talking about. I put this play out on Sportsline a couple of days ago. Over 32.5 receiving yards. It's now 34.5. I still like it there. Let's remember, when Ferguson is healthy and Dak is healthy, which didn't happen a lot last year, these guys really had a connection. And when you think about the negative game script that Dallas is going to be facing for most of this game, you think about Vic Fangio and how he's probably going to try to limit, to some degree, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, the underneath stuff. In so many passing attempts from Dak Prescott, the underneath stuff is going to be available to Jake Ferguson. Let's not forget, this is a big piece. In July, we talked about Micah Parsons leaving. They paid Jake Ferguson. 4 years, $52 million, $30 million guaranteed. He is a big part of this offense, and that was codified in his contract in July. This guy is the real deal. He's a very, very good tight end. We're sleeping on him. Even in garbage time, he can get this, but I don't think he needs garbage time.
I see Najah with a couple of great plays for us tonight as we kick off the season in the NFL. More where that came from on the latest Early Edge podcast. They just finished up. You can find it on the Sportsline YouTube page or wherever you find your podcasts.